Hello, everyone. Welcome to Premier League Forecast, sponsored by Bookmakers.com. It's me, Chris Back. It's him, Neville Sullivan. We will get joined by Den soon. Hopefully, he's having a few technical difficulties. But Nev, how you doing, mate?
You're really on for one. I tell you that. You're really on for one.
Well, you're Gary Neville's biggest fan. We all know this.
Oh, we all know this now. Yeah, me and Nev, we're like that.
Me and Red Steve know it's true.
Yeah. No, I'm good. Quiet day. Nice for a good Friday. It's just nice and quiet. No dramas. But plenty of football watching today. But no, other than that, looking forward to a huge weekend. Massive weekend.
I haven't watched a jot of football today. I've actually just a nice, chill, relaxed day. Not thought about football. I'll probably try not to think about any football until I have to on Sunday. So, all right, Den's back. Let's see if we get him. Hang on a second. Denny, okay?
Hello.
He's thinking about
all good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you good.
Just about. You do look like you've been kidnapped though, because we can barely see you. But we'll go. We'll see how we're going.
Yeah. I had an absolute mare. My above lamp smashed, and coincidentally, I haven't been able to get a new one, but I'm working with what I can. I suppose this mood lighting kind of this gives us the way I'm feeling about Sunday afternoon.
Oh right, okay, not so confident.
We'll get into that later on, though.
No,
for sure.
No, not at all.
Let's talk about your favourite team first. Let's talk about Spurs. Spurs v Brighton, because this is a good game. This, Kevin, it's in the form guide. It's 5th versus 6th. Brighton are on a hell of a run to push for this Champions League spot. They're doing really, really well, and Spurs are quietly doing better than probably what you perceive from the outside, because you feel like Spurs are always in turmoil, but actually form-wise, they're not too bad. Big thing is, though, Spurs do have quite a lot of defensive players out for tomorrow. It sounds like no Emerson, no Ben Davis, no Basuma, no Sessegnon. Bentancur's already out for the season, and Richarlison is a doubt, and Lucas Moura got himself stupidly sent off. So not great for Spurs going into a game against a very informed Brighton side.
No, it's I don't get how Spurs are where they are. It just goes to show the drop off in everyone else is the fact that Spurs are where they are. I mean, Conte getting the boot was inevitable. It was always coming. No surprise. The only surprise was that they didn't have a replacement lined up ready to go. But that is just typical of the way that club has been run over the last 18 months to 2 years. It's such a scattergun approach to the way they approach the game. It's mental. And I don't think that the squad is capable of playing a different way either now. Where a new manager or a coach might come in and talk about maybe changing it to a back four or adapting to a different style or something different. But I just don't think they've got the squad capable of doing it. This is the aftermath of what happens when you appoint Conte to a club. It wreaks havoc with your transfer market because he's so specific in the type of players that he looks to sign that when he leaves, you're left with the squad that he tried to build. And then it's knacked them. And the problem is for Brighton, what a good thing, I suppose, for in Brighton's case, they're in form, they're free scoring. But at the same time, when they concede, their heads don't drop.
No, they're quite relaxed, aren't they?
Yeah, they're not averse to, like you saw it against the game against Brentford. They finished 3-3. But it's a case of if they concede, well, yeah, okay, we'll just go again. And that's their mentality. They're just loving life at the minute. They're bought into the new manager 100%. The fact that the board of Brighton have come out and said, yeah, De Zerbi is staying until the end of the season, and then they're happy enough with him going forward, and he seems to be happy there. It's still a tough away trip. Any away trip in the league at this stage for the final third of the season can throw up shocks, can throw up surprises. But I think it would be a surprise if Brighton don't get something out of this game, be it 3 points or 1 point. It would be a shock if Spurs turn them over. But given what the table looks like and the chasing pack that are
losing Kev there. Den, just come to you then. I do think that might give Spurs a little bit of hope. Is McAllister and Caicedo are the hopeful to be fit, but I think they are slight injury doubts. That might give Spurs a little bit of hope because you take one or two of them out of the Brighton side, that they're big losses. But I still feel like, I agree with Kev, you feel like Brighton will get something out of the game. Oh. Well, I don't know you, Kev. Either Den doesn't agree with me, or he's really thinking of an answer here. I'm thinking he's frozen.
Yeah, I think he's frozen. Yeah, it's the way it's going to be one of those nights. I think the gremlins are out.
It does feel like that.
Yeah, it's the way you got to look at it with Brighton is Caicedo and that are doubtful, but they should be available, but they should play. And I just think the way things are at the minute, you'd have to fancy them. You'd have to fancy Brighton going and getting a result. I'd go 2-1 for Brighton. It's
quite a few in the chat. Oseen, Laszlo have all gone 2-1. Bonkers has gone 2-0. I've gone 2-2, only mainly because it's at Spurs. I think their home record actually is better than some give them credit. Probably some realise, but I can't see Spurs winning. If it was at Brighton, I wouldn't even give Spurs a hope. I just think it's just a bit strange. Yeah, Tom's saying here, Spurs sticking with a novice manager and then Chelsea go one better and get a manager worse than a novice. Let's talk about that. Well, let's talk about that.
Do you want to? Because who did Chelsea got the weekend?
Chelsea have away at Wolves. So Wolves 17th in the form guide. Chelsea 11th. Wolves can't score goals. That's Wolves has been Wolves from all season. But I'll be honest, Chelsea can't score goals either. I think Chelsea have only won 2 games since the turn of the year. They had chances against Liverpool, and I think the game against Liverpool summed up Chelsea, which was kind of out of barn door.
Yeah.
But defensively, and I said to you on the post-match show, if Liverpool had a bit of bollocks about them, they could and should have hurt Chelsea. Because defensively, Chelsea are actually, unlike Chelsea, quite easy to get in behind, which you wouldn't say it's never been a Chelsea trait. Chelsea used to always be quite a mean side to get in behind, but they look so devoid of confidence. And the Frank Lampard, I just don't get.
I think Frank Lampard is just a means to an end to get to the end of the season. He gets them, and it's nice to see a Tory do well at something because they're shite at everything else. But I think you could see in the Villa game, 27 attempts at goal the Chelsea had against Villa. And this is an informed Villa who are flying. And the same against us. They had 3 really golden chances to put them away. I think the fact that Sterling is going to be available will probably be a bonus. If you add Sterling to a front 3 of João Felix and Havertz, and maybe Sterling would be the one through the middle. And
his son Mason Mount will start playing again now because he loves Mason Mount.
He will.
So Mason Mount will get games, which we could. If he goes to Liverpool, that's a good thing. We'll see how good he is.
We'll see how good he is. Yeah, but the thing is, I think Wolves are probably the right side that you want to be playing.
I beat you to it, bonkers. See, you and me have the same thoughts.
Yeah, I think Wolves are the side you want to be playing. They don't carry a goal threat, and you can get at them. You know, Chelsea will dominate the ball. They'll create chances. If they can keep Kante fit, if you can get an hour out of Kante while you're building your fitness up, you could probably afford to play a 2-man midfield as opposed to having to play a 3. Where if they play 3-4-3 with James, Chilwell, Kante, and Kovacic, and then 3 up front, I think that probably helps an awful lot. I fancy Chelsea to win that 3-0.
Do you?
I think, I do. I think
where Chelsea get 3 goals from? When was the last time Chelsea scored double?
Because it's just through sheer volume of chances that they're creating. Eventually, they'll just get a game where they'll score, and once you get 1, you'll get 2 and 3. Okay. So that's the way I look at it. I just don't see any way that Wolves have the capability to hurt them.
Okay.
You know, that's the only way I'd look at that. I mean, I wouldn't give any credit to Frank Lampard getting anything out of them. I mean, at the end of the day, all you have to do is put them out to a general shape how they're used to playing in a 3-4-3 and just let them play.
I've got 1-1 because I think all their focus is on Wednesday night against Real Madrid. Shouldn't be, but I think for them, I think that their eggs are all in the Champions League basket.
Yeah.
I
I think the other thing as well, when you talk about the Frank Lampard thing, I'm not sure if it might be a thing that whoever the head coach is or the manager is who's available on the day. If you're managing in the Champions League, you have to have a certain level of qualification, and maybe the guy that they had in there,
and Bruno didn't have it.
Didn't have it, so maybe they had to get someone in who had the license, the UEFA license for it. I don't know. It's a mad one.
It's always been worked around though, hasn't it? Because I think when they won it with Di Matteo, I don't actually think he had the accreditations you needed to be a manager.
Yeah,
in the Champions League, but they still found a way of doing it. So you never quite know, really, do you, Chelsea? Den, are you back?
I think I'm back. Yeah.
Looks like you've been released now. We can actually see you.
Yeah. I ran away from the kidnapper. I'll tell you what. Sky Wi-Fi is useless. It's got all this. It's a bit like Chelsea. It's got the reputation. It doesn't live up to what you're getting when you pay. It's what a mess. But yeah, assuming we're talking about Chelsea's game at the weekend.
Yeah, Chelsea Wolves.
Chelsea Wolves. We've already done Spurs. Kev's gone 2-1
like
right now. I've gone 2-2. For Chelsea Wolves, I've gone 1-1. Kev's gone 3-0 Chelsea.
Yeah, I think this would be an interesting one because it will be Frank's first return. I mean, the whole thing is just a bit mind-boggling, in my opinion. I don't know what Chelsea fans are. I think a lot of them are just kind of deluded, where they're acting like they're happy, but they've got to remember how this sort of worked out in the first place. You know, they got rid of him. He ended up at Everton. He didn't manage to do a job there, and now they've ended up back with him as a sort of last resort. I don't really understand what the expectations for him are now. I suppose just to maybe get them some wins and just keep them going.
I think Kev made the point is maybe Bruno, who was just a temporary manager, doesn't have the relevant qualifications you need to manage in the Champions League. As in, you have to have certain certain A licenses, and maybe he hasn't got them yet. So Lampard has. So it's a bit of a puppet just to get through the Champions League games, because they're probably thinking it is what it is.
Yeah.
So
Cole as well, I think.
Yeah, Cole's involved in the background stuff.
Yeah,
John said
he's brought in 4 people with him. So it's himself, Cole, and 2 others. So it is a bit of a clear out of what they've had. So
yeah, I think it's the same 3 he had at Everton as well. So that seems to be his backroom stuff that he always takes everywhere over, which is fair enough. Every manager has the preference, don't they?
It's a bloody expensive mistake what Bowley's done in getting rid of Tuchel, getting rid of Potter, and bringing in this team to get to see them over the line until the summer. They won't get anything out of the league between now and the end of the season, apart from hopefully from their point of view is build a bit of confidence. But you never know in the Champions League. You never know.
We've seen some proper wild teams win it. I mean, it's fair when Chelsea won it under Di Matteo.
No one fancied that Chelsea.
No, I mean, to be fair, it was a much better Chelsea squad than the one they got now.
Yeah.
When they won it against City, it was a good Chelsea side. This one just looks a bit devoid of everything.
Chelsea as well, wouldn't it? It really would be typical Chelsea to go and do so poorly in the league, and then go and do a blinder in the Champions League. We've seen teams do it before many, many times. So, and that's kind of usually what keeps people in a job. But I don't think Frank's there for any sort of long run. The contract length sort of says that this game would be a typical Chelsea. I mean, God knows how many times this season they've gotten away with scrappy 1-0 wins. I think this would be different. I think because it's Wolves, I think it will be perhaps a 2-0 win to Chelsea, just to try and get the fans on board on what they're seeing. But yeah, the skeletons in the closet are on the field, in my opinion. I don't think any manager's going to come in and do wonders there. I think they've got too many good things in the same place, if that makes sense.
Shots fired here by Dan Austin. Kev's Wi-Fi resembles our midfield and Dan's resembles our defence, which means by default I'm the attack. So actually, I'm the better of the. So that means mine works occasionally. I work occasionally. You guys just don't work at all. No. Red Steve with an interesting quote. The look on the guard's face when he pulls back Den's bed sheets and realises they're just pillows. Obviously, this is talking about Den breaking out earlier, so that could be the theme of the whole show. This. So let's go to the early kickoff then on Saturday. Man United at home to Everton, which is But Kev, for us, it'll be interesting for two reasons. One, we don't like either of them. It's a game where you want both to lose. It sort of feels like a nice game for Man United, this, because to be fair to them, United are in decent form.
They're not. United are in atrocious form, mate.
8th, but I think against Everton, I think it's the perfect game for them.
I tell you what, I honestly look at Manchester United at the minute and they're desperately missing Casemiro. They poxed a result in the week. And
I don't think Brentford were great, though, to be fair.
No, they weren't. Brentford were atrocious. Something that is so unlike how they've been. But Manchester United, since we took the pants down, they went and drew with Southampton, and I think they lost the next game after that. And then, they beat Brentford. Everton.
To put it into context, since we beat United, we haven't scored a goal.
No, exactly.
Or won a game, so we're in no place to talk, really.
Our games have all been away. You know, it's just when you watch them, they're really. I just think they're so average. They're so average.
They're so reliant on Rashford at the moment, which is not a bad thing. You know, he's a man in form, but
And the thing is, you look at Everton then, right? There's there's 4 sides sat between 15th and 18th inclusive, all on 27 points, all on 29 games played, bar West Ham. And Everton can be a hard nut to crack. You know, they can be an awkward side to play against if you're not on it. And they can test you physically, going the other way for set pieces. And
the big
I think they're a side at the minute where you don't want to go one down to them. It's kind of similar to how Burnley used to be under Dyche. If they got a lead, they're well capable of sitting in 2 banks of 5 and just soaking up pressure and see what happens.
The other big thing that helps Everton is their goal difference is only minus 18, and you look at the teams below, they're all like minus 30s, minus 24s, minus 20. That's it's worth a point in itself.
It is. I think Manchester United will have enough to. Manchester United will have enough to beat them at the weekend, but you know it's an early kickoff as well. Manchester United have a decent record in the early kickoffs. I think they've won 3.
Do you remember those days, Kev, when we could win early kickoffs? They were lovely. Do you remember those days?
They were
a fucking long time ago. That.
And I'm getting old, mate. My memory isn't as good as what it used to be.
I mean, it was only last season, Kev. Let's not get too delusional.
Like I said, no, it's. I just fancy.
And Ashley L saying Eriksen might be back in the squad, which is a big plus for them because I think they've missed him as well.
They have missed him, but I think Casemiro is a huge miss. You know, it's what he offers in midfield and what he allows other players to go and do. Look, I think United probably win 2-1, but I don't think they'll have it their own way. I think they'll have to work for it. I think Rashford was in flying form for about 2 months, and he's come off the boil a bit. And if he's off it in any way, shape, or form, they struggle for goals everywhere else. So it's one of those. If they're not on it, or if they're not, if Everton get ahead, then it could be a different game. And plus, you never know with De Gea what you're going to get. You can have a worldie, you can have a mare. You just don't know.
So, cool. What score are you going, Kev?
I go 2-1 Manchester United. But
cool. I've got 2-0. Dan, how are you seeing this one?
Yes. Look, with Everton, I sort of saw them as the team going down. And again, this goes back to the Lampard conversation. I just didn't see him as a man to keep a team up. But with Sean Dyche, the tables have really, really turned. I don't think many people now would think they'll be the team that will struggle, because Sean Dyche just knows he's good at what he does, and that is the block ball game. It's really annoying, frustrating to play against. And I think United, with Casemiro out and Rashford going off form, like Kev said, I know he still scored the other day, but he's not the player he has been all season. And I think that's the fact that he's carried this team for so long. The weight's just catching up with him. But United will get over the line.
He's still not signed a new contract. He's still not signed a new contract, yeah? Even Steve Rashford.
No, but to be honest, that's the right position to be in, because regardless of what he does now.
This one left.
Okay.
Yeah, but regardless of the weight, I mean, sorry, go on, Kev.
Sorry, Kev.
No, I was just saying, I think he's got.
Are you back, Kev? Sorry,
He's got 12 months left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he's got 12 months left in his contract after this season, so it'll be extended. So some.
Okay. So what score are you going for, Deb?
I'm going to back Kev's, and I'm going to say 2-1 as well.
I think Kev's just about to drop kick his modem, so we're back in a minute. Right, we'll move on to them. Villa against Forest. Villa, the third in the form table, currently 7th. Brilliant front since Unai Emery took over. Against Forest, who are just above the relegation zone. From the outside looking in, there was perceived pressure on the manager, but the club have actually come out and done, well, if you believe it or not, the vote of confidence and said the manager staying to the end of the season. There's nothing to, not nothing to worry about, but we go next week, which I think if you're a Forest fan, at least that ends a bit of speculation of like, it's not this game to save his job. It's just, no, he's got to the end of the season. We've promised him the end of the season. That's what we're going to do. But it just feels like a nice game for Villa, this, at Villa Park. The form they're in, you can't really see anything other than a Villa win at the moment.
Yeah. I saw a stat, actually, this afternoon, which I couldn't believe. And that was Aston Villa was sat in 17th position when Unai Emery joined, and now they're 7th. That's a miracle. Yeah, that is very miracle. But I think they're sitting where they should be. I think they've got a very good squad. The midfield, there's a lot of players in that midfield I'd probably take off their hands. Well, last season I would have different, obviously, kettle of fish now, given that Arsenal have really climbed the ladder. I think this will be a Villa win. I think the problem is for Forest, there's just too much work to do. As for Steve Cooper, look, I think he's been given an impossible job, which is turn around an entire new team and try and survive the league. For what he's doing with that team, fair play to him for not being in the position that other teams are in, because it's not easy. He's been given 27 players, just he's basically been given 27 pieces to fit a puzzle, and he doesn't even know what he's actually trying to do. So it's very difficult. But I think
most of the squad he had last year, which got him up, were all on loan. So they're all going to go They're all going to go anywhere, or at the end of the contract. So it's very.
And then he had to go to a new one. So I think for anyone to say that he's underachieving or he's not done a good job would be completely baffling, because you've got to remember this is the Premier League. Easy Villa win, I think 2-0. Ollie Watkins as well. What a season he's randomly started having. It's just ridiculous. Like, it's a bit like Rashford, but even better, because he's not around the Man United. He's in a team, Aston Villa, that really had to change, and you've got to change things around. And his scoring form is just a joke. Fair play to him. If he keeps it up, England ranks next year wouldn't surprise me, because we're really lacking strikers at the moment. But 2-0 Villa.
Yeah, I've got the same 2-0. What have you got, Kev?
For Villa, Villa 3-0.
That's fine. Bonk's got 1-1. Right, these next three we'll just do quick fire. Just give us a score. Kev, Brentford against Newcastle.
1-1.
I also have 1-1. Den, what have you got for that one?
It's at Brentford.
Brentford, Newcastle. Just a quick fire score.
I'm going to say 2-1 to Newcastle.
Okay, I'll stick with you, Den. Southampton at home to City.
You know what's coming. Haaland to return, 3-0 City.
I've got 4-0 City. Kev, what have you got?
3-1. 3-1 City.
3-1. Kev, Fulham against West Ham. I've got 2-1 to Fulham.
I think probably Fulham 2-1 as well, but Mitrovic is a big miss.
Yeah. Den, what have you got?
Tough one. I'm going to go 2-0.
2-0. So here then, Leicester against Bournemouth.
2-1 Leicester.
Kev?
Yeah, 3-0 Leicester.
I've got 3-1 Leicester. And last one, stick with you, Kev. Leeds at home to Palace. I have 2-0 Leeds.
That's a huge game. That is an absolute monster game. We were only talking about this last night with I was on talking with Gav about this last night.
Was this on bookmaker.com?
Yeah, it was. And we basically went through every single fixture for the relegation clubs from Crystal Palace all the way down from tomorrow right the way through to the end of the season. We projected out what we thought the results would be and therefore what the points would be to see who we thought would go down. I think this will be a draw, 1-1. It's just Leeds are playing all right without ripping up any trees now under Gracia. But Hodgson, apparently there was a lot of falling out with Vieira and a few players. And yeah, he had a really difficult run against Patrick had, but
it sounds like he'd
fell out with a few players, the likes of Eze, the likes of Edward, he'd fallen out with. And Hodgson comes in and he starts Eze, gives Edward his, license and picks up a win on his first game. And it's like, this is a good run of games for Palace. And Palace literally has to play everybody beneath them now. They've had the tough run. And this is probably the hardest game over the next 3 or 4 weeks that they've got. So, yeah, I think it'll be a draw 1-1, but it's a huge game. It's a massive game for Leeds.
Who's your bottom three, Kev?
In the end, I went for Southampton, Bournemouth, and who did I have in the end? Southampton, Bournemouth, and Forest.
Okay.
But I thought to myself, West Ham could get sucked into it. And the reason being is because they're still in the Europa Conference. They've got an awful lot of football to play between now and the end of the season because I think they're playing Ghent midweek next week. They'll get through against Ghent. And there's a good chance that West Ham will go all the way in this competition.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that the success in Europe could really hinder them in the league because they just can't. They were awful against Newcastle the other night. I mean, Newcastle knocked 5 past them, and West Ham were in third gear and couldn't get out.
Yeah.
They were in atrocious trouble.
And the big elephant in the room is, obviously, you've got Everton staying up, but the big elephant in the room is if and when they get these FFP charges, because if you get them, it's normally a points deduction for that sort of stuff, and that could be the big difference. And all it's all come from the likes of the Guardian is decisions made before the season's over.
It has to be because they're only facing a small amount of charges.
Not quite
unlike 135 by someone else.
It's a lot of due diligence.
If everything get done for that, it has to be done by the end of the season. Given how close this season is going, and odds are it could be goal difference to send someone down. If Everton don't get a point deduction, then you'd imagine there's going to be a transfer ban for next season, and that'll cripple them anyway, because that squad is just not good enough as it is.
Yeah.
So if that squad has to stay for another 12 months and they're not allowed to add to it apart from youth players, it
was a bit strange because it seemed they were a bit fortunate during last year, wasn't it? Because there was talk all their transfers for this summer had to be ratified by the Premier League to make sure they were skirted.
It was the Neil Maupay signing, apparently.
Was that the one that's...
Yeah, it's the Neil Maupay signing that's done him.
So,
it's Neil Maupay that it does, yeah.
One goal.
Above all players.
Yeah, who scored them 1 goal, I believe.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think West Ham could be in deep trouble, genuinely. I think they're in the mud.
Yeah. Sorry, Dan, what did you have for the Leeds Palace game? I don't think I asked you.
This is massive. This is quite a hard one. I'm going to go 2-2 again, I think.
2-2. Okay. Right. We've done everybody else. Let's talk about the game let's be honest, we all give a shit about. We don't really care about the others. So it's Liverpool at home to Arsenal. Arsenal are in absolute flying form, top of any form guide you want to do. Last 6, last 10. Have the best away record in the league. Liverpool are currently, in the last 6 games, 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. Don't know if me and Kev scored that. It feels worse than that, but apparently it's not as bad as you think. But in terms of home form, Liverpool are 4th in the form guide. We've only lost 1 game at home, drawn 3. won 9. So home form wise, goal scoring wise, the home were pretty strong. Away from home, were absolutely abysmal. There's no polite way of putting it. So then, in terms of Arsenal and our sort of news, I think there's no Tomiyasu, no Nketiah, no El Neni, and Saliba is a doubt. I assume that was the person that Arteta was hinting at. They may have had some good news because no, he's been handling a back injury. So, but other than that, I think you've still got Salah, Saka. Sorry, not Salah. Saka, Odegaard. Do you think he's going to play Jesus, or do you think he's going to stick with Trossard up front?
For me, I think this is a great game for Jesus to come in and sort of, I'm not going to say answer any critics because he doesn't need to do that. We all know what a great player he is. He showed that in the Brentford game last time out. But I would like to see him brought in to see how he gets on because he's clearly fit enough, clearly hungry. He wants to get back in the scoring motion. And I say strike while the iron is hot. Let him get going. Problem being, I just think he's one of the best things we've seen at Arsenal in a very long time. For 27 million, I don't know how we've done it. So it's a bit of a 50-50. But I like being in this situation where we can finally say, oh, we could play him or we could play him. Whereas last year we were really scraping the barrel. It was one or Nketiah. Nketiah was playing quite a large amount of our games for that time. But yeah, I think he'll stick with a consistent Trossard in the middle, Gabby on the left, Saka on the right. Makes sense. I won't be sitting here upset. That doesn't happen. And if Jesus is brought in, it's a win-win situation, really. Trossard, I'd like to think he's a bit more confident, given off the form he's had. But then Jesus got 2 goals himself the other week as well. So who knows? It's a risky one because we have a huge run of games coming up, which we need Jesus to be involved in. But if he's fit, I think Arteta's really proven, and he's done his dues for fans to get behind him no matter what decision he makes. The real worry is the one you mentioned there, the Saliba. I think that's where I'm twisting and turning about how much that could really answer this game on whether it's him or Rob Holding and his hairline, but we'll see.
Hey, it's a fabulous hairline he's got now. It's the best recovery I've ever seen for a hairline. That. So we think it'll be Ramsdale in goal, Ben White at full,
Ben White at the
right full,
Gabriel Zinchenko, and then maybe either Saliba or Holding. It'll probably be Holding because if Saliba's a doubt 2 days ago, I can't imagine he'll come straight into the lineup. Way too risky. And then Thomas and Xhaka, Odegaard in front of them, and then the front three of either Gabby, Saka, and Jesus or Trossard. But football's football. There could be a few surprises, but I imagine that's what it'll go with. I think Rob Holding could have a really, really big afternoon, but he tends to pick up in big games. He did against City. I know we still lost that game, but he played against City in the cup, and he kept Haaland quiet for long enough, I thought. And that guy is a different level to what anyone's played against. So keeping him quiet for even half a game is good enough. So if Holding is the man that starts tomorrow, I'm not going to say I have the most faith in him, but he does tend to have good games where you don't expect him to. And playing against someone like Núñez, Salah, your Jota, it's going to get really, really messy.
Are you enjoying the title race? Are you enjoying being in it? No. It's dead funny because what's so funny is me and Kev always said we all sort of want to be a title race. It's fucking stressful though, isn't it? It's horrible.
I'm sort of looking at it now, and I've been enjoying it. I'm fortunate enough to have a season ticket this year, which I've never done. So I've had a good year to have that. And there's a lot of people moaning about tickets because, of course, when we're winning, every man and his dog wants to start coming to watch us. Whereas last year we had games on general sale, and you can pick up a ticket, log in online at any time in the afternoon. So it's great. Don't get me wrong. There's been certain games this season that have been absolutely out of this world. United at home, Bournemouth at home, yourselves at home, Spurs at home. The Spurs away win, huge stuff like that. that we haven't been able to enjoy for such a long time. But these 9 remaining games is where it's going to get really, really panicking and stressful, because we're going to bound to drop points. I hope it isn't this Sunday, but in this month, there's going to be a moment where we drop points, City capitalise off it, and it starts getting nearer and nearer to that 28th of May. And we're all sitting there with our head in our hands, because as enjoyable as it is to see your team top of the league, Manchester City are Manchester City for a reason. And they've done what they've done so many times against Liverpool, most particular, but every season they just seem to somehow do it. And when they've got Haaland in the mix, just to add even more fuel to fire, it's scary. But yeah, so far so good. Ask me again in the end of the month when we've played off you, City, and Chelsea, then you can ask me the same question, and my answer might be different.
Fair enough. Kev, in terms of Liverpool, so no Ramsey, no Bajcetic. Thiago might be available. Keita apparently run around for a bit, so I don't think he's available. Diaz, he said, probably back for Leeds. Said it wasn't a hard no, it was like a possibly not for this one, which does make me wonder if he might be on the bench. That's just it's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek stuff, but if I'm honest, Kev, I could probably pick most of the 11. I can't say the midfield 3, because I think whatever midfield 3 we pick, there's a concern or a challenge of it.
Yeah.
Like Henson and Fabinho have now done 2 games back-to-back. Ask them to do 3 games back-to-back feels like a risk, but then you're sort of going, well, if you only play one of them, what are your options? The option is Harvey Elliott will probably come back in, because by all accounts he was just rested against Chelsea because he's played the most minutes of anyone from the midfield.
Yeah,
Thiago could come in, but he's not played for 2 months. Jones did okay against Chelsea, but he's in and out. Judged by the article in the Echo, he's on a very strict fitness regime because of this stress fracture in his leg. So that's why he didn't appear against City, because it was a registered. He had to have a day off. It had to be a day off, otherwise he was risking re-injuring it. And after that, then you go in Arthur Melo. You're not going to throw him in against Arsenal. So that's where I think we've got the challenge of it all season is, what do you pick?
Well, there's 2 ways you can go here. You could play 4-2-4.
Could do.
You know, and
Please do, because I know exactly what comes from that.
You could play 4 forwards, and it wouldn't surprise me if he does that and tries to play in like a 4-2-3-1 and see how that goes. The thing is, our record at home is good. Okay, the one loss that we had was self-inflicted badly.
Yeah.
The last time we played at home was the 7-0 Manchester United.
And that 11's not played together since.
Exactly. But the other side of it is that I didn't realise this. We've only conceded 2 goals all season in the second half of games at home.
We don't concede many at home. To be fair, our record at home, we don't concede very many.
We've conceded 9 in total in 13 games. The fact that Alisson is still in contention for the Golden Gloves, given where we are in the league, shows you that the form away from home is atrocious. The form at home is fine. It's actually really acceptable.
Right, Steve, so let's just go 5-0-5. Fuck it. To be honest, the way the midfield's been this year, it gets bypassed anyway, so we may as well just
gets bypassed anyway. Yeah, no, it's. I'm not shouting from the rooftops confident, but we said it before we come on air. I'm more worried about going away to Leeds than I am with Arsenal coming to Anfield. I'm more confident playing at Arsenal. I'm more confident playing at Anfield against anyone. I don't care who they are, than I am going away from home, and I don't care who we're going away to. I have no confidence whatsoever in who we're playing away. But earlier on today, I rewatched the highlights of the first Arsenal game, the Arsenal away game. That was 3-2. And there was a decision in that game that swung the game, that changed everything. And it was the Gabriel handball for Jota that should have been a penalty and it wasn't given. And Thiago gave away the penalty at the other end that decided the game. And it's the frustrating little micro decisions in games that cost you points. Now, it was a great game. And the games against Arsenal almost always invariably are really good games.
I think that's also the problem. That problem this season is when we have those sort of setbacks in the 2-3 years previously, they still find a way of reacting to it. Whereas this year, it seems like hit a setback. Fuck it, it's not our day today.
But
and
more
that
and more
kind of does it. That's it then.
But that's more away from home than at home.
Yeah.
That doesn't tend to happen at home. I think the way we'll line up will be Alisson and goal. I think it'll be Trent, Konate, Virgil, Robertson, Henderson. I think he'll go with the three: Henderson, Fabinho, and Elliott. The thing is, we have an 8-day break between now and the Leeds game, and the front three will probably be Darwin on the left, Salah on the right, and Gakpo through the middle. The discussion is: do you play Bobby? Given Bobby Firmino's record against Arsenal, he scored 10 in 17 appearances against Arsenal. He's the joint highest scorer in Premier League era for Liverpool against Arsenal with Robbie Fowler. He just loves a goal against Arsenal. I
think Salah's second, isn't he? Salah's not far behind him.
And the thing is, Bobby never lets you down. And you know what you're going to get. And you know the type of player you're going to get. And if you're Rob Holding and Gabriel, do you want to be chasing Firmino out into midfield, leaving holes in behind for Darwin to run into? Or can they be disciplined enough to defend? And then, where you can sit on Partey and make the game difficult that way. It's an option.
I think he goes with Gakpo because
I think he does as well.
Because he barely featured against Chelsea, and he gave Bobby a good bit of time against Chelsea, and to be honest, Jota's played a lot of minutes the last 2 games.
Yeah, Jota won't get anywhere near starting.
I think Jota will be only got the bench for the last 15, if at all. I mean, to be fair, Jota not score for a year. Yeah,
I actually forgot that you signed him. That shows you how much
he's played an awful lot of football as well for us. Since he's signed, he's played a hell of a lot. And I didn't realize how much football Harvey Elliott had played either. 42 games he's played this season for us.
I think Gakpo's only not started 2 games since we signed him.
Yeah,
shows how good he's been. Jake, with a fun fact for us, we are the only team in 2023 not to concede a goal at home in the league this year, which it feels madness because it just doesn't feel very Liverpool to not concede a goal.
This goes back to the attitude problem that you have when we go away. It's not ability. It truly isn't, because they're turning up and they're doing it at home. It's a mentality that they're not able to get themselves up. They don't play as a unit. They play as individuals, and it seems to be more away from home. Whether it's just, I mean, you're really struggling to put reasons for a lot of what's going on this season. But the one thing you can hang your hat on is the fact that at home we're a good side, and we cause size problems at home, and we'll create chances. And that's all you can do. Arsenal are a phenomenal side. For me, you got to look at the fact of what happened at the end of last season. The fact that they were in the Champions League spots and missed out. For them then to back their manager, back him in the window, not with extravagant signings, but with good business signings, to add the bit of quality that they needed to add, and have the faith to go again. It's something that Klopp said in his press conference. It's like, that's what is rewarded with sticking with a manager and a plan. It's not just Mikel Arteta, it's also behind him, Edu. You know, the fact that they're buying to a plan, they're buying to a structure and to how they want to play. They're buying players to fit that. And it kind of sounds familiar, Chris, doesn't it? It's very familiar. You know, it's exactly what we did. It's exactly how we built our success, was buying players to fit a plan. Not buying names because they're available and an agent comes knocking on your door and saying, I've got X superstar who wants to come to your club.
And I think that's probably where we've got to get back to a little bit this summer and the next couple of summers is, I think the players we've brought in work, but it looks like we're tweaking the plan of how we're going to play. The argument has always been is we probably did some of these changes either too late or we didn't do enough too soon. Gary MC is not happy with Henderson. How does he keep playing? How does he keep get away with his appalling performances? I don't think getting away with it. It's been highlighted many times. Henderson's not had a good season, but guess what?
He's available.
Not many of the midfielders have, and that's the key word.
Good point.
Him and Fabinho are available. Yeah, the other lads you want to pick, Thiago, brilliant player. missed a third of the season. Keita, I think he's played. Has he played double figures yet this season for us? Oxlade-Chamberlain, never fit. Elliott's a young kid. Jones, never fit. That's the problem. If those lads step up, Henderson's not playing. That's probably the plan for him. But I'm assuming that's the plan in the summer is add a couple more first team level players. You make Henderson and Fabinho more of your squad options, which actually means you probably get the best out of it because then they're not being flogged and being asked to play. So, but each to their own.
Yeah, there's a there was a question there in about Diaz as well. Would Diaz be risked? I hope not, because whenever it was another thing when I go back to watch the highlights of the Arsenal game, you realize what an influence Luis Diaz is on the side, especially when he plays with Darwin. But being out from October, the fact that he had the relapse with the injury in and around Christmas and extended the length of time he was out, I'd rather him be right and ready than gamble. Even given the fact that we're a very outside shot of hitting top four. I think it's gone, but very outside shot.
I think the way the manager said the plans for Leeds, it's unlikely for tomorrow. I think best case, you're talking 10 minutes. Best case, but that'll only be a sports science as he says he's fit.
Yeah. I wouldn't go anywhere near it. I think long term he's vital. He's so important. I'd rather him be right than be risked. There's plenty of players that I'd risk, but he's not one of them.
I think so. I think the interesting thing for both sides will be, I think the benches is going to be key. So options off the benches for us is hopefully Thiago, Bobby, Jota. I mean, Jota desperately needs a goal. His record against Arsenal is very good, but he hasn't scored for a year, which is mad for a player who's that good. Injuries haven't helped, but that is a concern. I think that's been a big loss this year. I mean, he got 20 goals last year. We haven't got anywhere near that. I would assume Jones will be on the bench. Carvalho maybe on the bench, but I mean, Carvalho.
I doubt it.
Carvalho just seems to have been binned off, and he's never been picked since that. Since he dropped out the Portugal squad, when he texted the manager to say, "I'm not playing for Portugal." He's never really featured much since then, and you do wonder is something going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of, because he just seems to have all of a sudden just been completely bombed out. And maybe it's just a get your head down, come back next summer. I don't know, but he won't surprise me if he's moved. He might be one of the ones that they look to flip in the summer, maybe.
Possibly, but I don't think he. If you're looking at the forwards who you'd have available, because you have to put him on the bench as a forward. All right, he's not going to be on the bench ahead of Jota, and he's not going to be on the bench ahead of Bobby. So, and you're only going to pick two forwards on your bench. So,
and if you are going to pick if they are going to pick a third forward, and there's a slight chance he's fit, they're going to pick Diaz.
If not, or Curtis, because he's played. And the other side of it is you're going to have to put Milner and probably Joe Gomez on the bench to cover centre back and full back.
Tsimikas is normally on the bench, isn't he?
And Tsimikas is normally on the bench, so that's our bench pretty much a lock. It's just form. That's all it is form. It's we need to show something about us we have to get some. Our season hinges on this Sunday. It does. You pick up a win against Arsenal, confidence that breeds. If you can back it up against Leeds, see where you are then. Because a lot of games above us and below us are sides playing against each other. Mm-hmm. So,
after today, we're back into the one game a week routine, aren't we?
Exactly. I think there's only
with the exception of 3rd of May. I think is our next midweek game, which is.
I think we have 2 midweek games between now and the end of the season.
But I think they're in May, aren't they? So it's a while. So they've got a good run now for a little bit of one game a week. So, but we'll have to see. Den, what score are you going?
This is one game I really don't like. I don't like giving a score prediction for this one.
That's the rules of the show, mate. Score prediction, goal scorers, please.
I'm going to give one, but do I go on? All right. So my head is telling me we actually take this 2-1, just giving off the midfield battle. I think Partey and Xhaka both had an outstanding season, to be honest. Xhaka, you can't fault him this season. No. I think redemption has really, really, really happened in that area, and I'm so pleased for him. And if you play the likes of any of the the options I've heard both of you say, then yeah, we win that midfield battle with ease, and we've got the attack. They're all scoring for fun at the moment. So I think 2-1. I'm going to stick with 2-1 Arsenal.
Good. Kev, what you saying? Oh, Kev, you're ignoring us.
The reverse of the first game.
You got 3-2, have you?
Yeah, I've gone 3-2 win. I think it'll be a great game. I'd be amazed if it's not. I can't see these two sides playing out a boring 1-1. You know, I just don't think either have it in them at the minute. I'd never not back us at home, so I'd go for 3-2 win. I think Bobby scores, even if it's off the bench. I think Bobby scores, and I think Salah gets 2.
Okay, I've also gone 3-2 Liverpool. I think it's a little bit of hope, but also because it's at home. And I've just gone our front three: Salah, Nunes, Gakpo. I think Saka will score for Arsenal. I think Odegaard will score because Odegaard's just in fabulous form.
The other thing as well, though, on Granit Xhaka, I defy anyone in the chat to come up with a player that's had such a complete 180 in how they were for their club as to how they are now in 2 years. This is a guy who threw the captain's armband away, and Arsenal fans to a man wanted him out the door. To turn that around and to turn in the performance that he has this season, not just for Arsenal, for Switzerland as well. I've never seen anything like it. Hats off to him. He's been unbelievable. And I never, to this day, I stand on this. 2 years ago, we were doing a show. It was one of my first times on a pod. And we were talking about, should Liverpool go in for Saka? And I said, no, I wouldn't go anywhere near him. I never thought. This was at the time when he was playing left back and left wing back. I never thought he had it in him. I never thought he had it in him to be the player on the right that he's developed into. And the future is so bright for him. It'll be a struggle for Arsenal to keep him, I think, long term, if they don't get over the line now. It's vital that Arsenal get over the line.
I personally think a contract's been signed. I think they're waiting for something.
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters.
It would not surprise me if during the week of Chelsea and City, we lose points somewhere there, and then it's announced maybe the day later just as a sweetener. Something like that would not.
You've got a fixture list after City. City, Chelsea, Newcastle, Brighton on the bounce. Yeah. This is why for Arsenal, this weekend is huge. If you can manage the gap this weekend, those 4 games are massive. But if City sneeze between now and then, they'll focus exclusively on the Champions League. They're not great chasers. They're not great chasers.
I don't want to get into it too much, but I've said I don't agree with so many people really backing City to go the whole way unbeaten. Not even unbeaten without dropping points. It's madness. It's absolute madness to even consider that so often. They've got Brighton away. I'm pretty sure they've got some Everton away at some point.
I think somebody back it is because having been on the receiving end of it, they generally do it. Yeah. The difference is, though, as Kev rightly says, they're normally doing it from the lead.
Yeah,
they're not. The record chasing is not as strong, so that's where you got to look at a few things. But yeah, I think that's why somebody back it is because they get 90 points, probably 5 of the last 6 seasons. There's a reason to do it.
One thing I wanted to mention before we wrap up as well. Kev said something earlier about the board and the Edu, and you have got to give credit to that also, because we've seen stuff like Vlahovic, Mudryk, where fans were moaning because we didn't get either of the players. We turned around and got Jesus and Trossard. Look at them now. Look at us. 8 points clear of the Premier League, and we've spent, I would say, a quarter of the money we probably would have done on the 2 players that we wanted and didn't get. So, yeah, I have to sort of agree with that there, because I don't think it gets spoken about enough, because the board were really they were absolutely hounded when the whole Super League came out. The protests for Kroenkes were unbelievable. Edu as well, and now you don't hear a word because the business is finally paying off. But yeah, I think Easter Sunday is going to be a tough one. I've said 2-1 on here, but it's going to be very tricky. Lots of goals. If I was a betting man, over 2.5 easily, maybe even in the first half.
Yeah, it's
speaking of being a better man. Don't forget our sponsors, bookmakers.com. There we go. Look at that, Kev. That's a segue and a half. That's a segue and a half. They're not quite as good as my IP Vanish ones, but never mind. No, listen, joke aside, bookmakers.com. They are bookmakers. They'll help you find best bets around. If betting's not your thing, that's sound. But check out their YouTube channel. They have a lot of YouTube shows on sport. Kev was on it last night with Gav. So we do a lot of Premier League previews. And for me and Kev use their website for a lot of stats grabbing as well, because it is handy, especially when you're playing sides that perhaps you don't always look. You can't watch every football game, so it is handy to give you an idea of form guides and who's likely to play. It gives you just that little bit of extra insight, and it's not just football, quite a few other sports. And we've also got our charity, which is breast cancer awareness. 12 ladies going to run the Dublin Marathon. I've asked Kev to do it, but he's told me no. He'd rather wear his Gary Neville t-shirt, so that's fair enough. We'll leave it at that. Kev, do you know the names get to 20,000? Do you know how we're getting on with it at all, mate? Or
no, I think it's about 2.5, something like that. We've got a long way to go, but the golf day will put a big, massive dent in that. That's coming up soon. That's coming up quick, actually. So if anyone wants to sponsor a hole, sponsor a tee box, donate a prize. If anyone's interested in donating a prize and can't get to Dublin, email lfcdaytrippers@gmail.com and put it on the subject matter prize, golf day prize. And Gav, get in touch with Gav that way and organize it with him. You can send him the money and he'll go and bloody get it and put your name on it. But anything that we can, I think last year, their aim this year for the golf day is to try to raise between 3.5 and 4 grand. That'll put a huge dent into the 20 grand figure that we're chasing. And once you get up around the halfway mark, it'll fly. It will fly out. No doubt about it. It's a really worthy cause. So anything that can be done, anything that can be done to help this push it along, the better. It'd be great.
Awesome. There we go. Right, before we go, Kev, anything you want to say before we go?
No, just enjoy the Easter. Have a good time. Enjoy yourselves. And we'll be back on Sunday to do the post-match for the Arsenal show. Looking forward to that.
Yes, you will.
I will.
Den, thanks for coming on, mate. Where can people find you?
Just on Twitter, which hopefully should be below.
There.
Yeah, we can see it.
Apologies for the kidnapping situation. Just for the record, I'm not being kidnapped. My family are. I'm scared. I'm in my own home. But yeah, come on, you Gunners. Always a pleasure to be on with you boys. Hopefully, it'll be a good Easter weekend, and I hope everyone has a good one. But 4:30, it's the only part of this weekend I've not been looking forward to. In all.
Cool.
Right,
thanks for coming on, Den. Listen, guys, have a good Easter, everyone, and we'll speak to you all very, very soon.